What's going on, everybody? It's Freedo here for Your Overwatch. Gonna be quite a multi-purpose video today. Another solo queue adventure where we're gonna talk about some tips on the general state of the solo queue meta and why I think Ana is one of the most powerful heroes in the entire game right now, if not the best, but also in doing some personal VOD review that hopefully from learning how I look back at my own games to attempt to improve, you can apply for yourself. So, first of all, a little story time, how things are going here for me in the current competitive season. Struggling to climb in GM, I'm gonna be honest. But to some degree, I thank my lucky stars that I'm even at this rank, because any upwards of 4,100, you start playing with actually talented players, and it gets really, really difficult. The reason why I bring this up is, man, are these player cards in need of a rework. Because looking at this, I'm sure many of you were thinking, oh, Freedo, I didn't know you were an Ana main. I'm not. And the player card doesn't even say that. It's just organized so poorly that it looks like that. I want and should be on tank. Stop putting me on healer. Just because I fill doesn't mean I want to be a healer main or I'm any good at it. As this reads, I have 4 hours on Ana, but I have over 5 on tanks. It's just split across multiple of them. So when you look at this, you have to filter it to even know what it means. And that's why I think these things it needs to be redone. I know I've said it before, so I'm probably boring you with this complaint. But in any case, I've been playing a lot of Ana because I think she's really required in a ton of different situations right now, mainly for 2 reasons. If your team's playing tanks that need healing, which I know to many of you that sounds like an oxymoron, it isn't. Wrecking Ball and Orisa are very resource light tanks, for example, whereas Rein Zarya have to be pumped with resources to get any value. Everybody plays them, so automatically you need a powerful healer right there, not to mention Ana counters just about everything in the game. And it's been severely opened up in recent time because D.Va's defense matrix has just been nerfed and nerfed and nerfed, now to the point where you have wide open gaps to exploit to sneak in Ana nades to destroy the entire enemy team. And at least in my experience, you don't really get up against expert level D.Vas who are pinpointing the key cooldowns to block with DM until like 4,200 rank. Everything under there, D.Vas are just wasting defense matrix willy-nilly, and if you know that, I advise that you play Ana and do your best to hit all of your shots so you don't need to use your nade for healing so much and then land it on the opponent to secure kills. There's a ton of things that have crazy sustain in the game right now, but all of it gets destroyed with the click of a button with Ana's nade. I mean, that theoretically would kill the GOATS meta at the pro level, right? It's just that pro level D.Vas actually do eat Ana nades nonstop. Like, it's almost their entire duty up against Ana. They do almost nothing else than just hunt down that cooldown and make sure it doesn't get through, because otherwise, yeah, you could just win a free team fight repeatedly with Ana's nade. I've gotten back to reviewing VODs that you guys have sent in, and one of the most common things that I've noticed is that people don't understand what a carry hero is and the responsibility that puts on you. Ana counters everything and is a carry hero, but with great power comes great responsibility. A carry hero played badly is a throw. But we all know this already for Widow, right? Like, you can't hit shots, then you just don't do anything. Ana's the same thing. So I think it's pretty useful to review your gameplay footage and notice situations where the team fight is lost or you die or anything else goes wrong, really, and look to see what you could have improved. Like here, I have a bad team comp, but we're in a winnable situation. I even pick the Mercy. The team's moving up, and because we have a single healer, I'm so stressed on getting towards my team to save them that I open myself up to the Pharah playing overly aggro, frankly, to come over the top and boot me. The crazy thing, when you get up to playing at higher ranks, players just show you no respect and just run over you all the time. So you gotta be ready for this kind of thing. Like, if I can't duel the Pharah either, we're just gonna lose that game, and we do eventually lose. It gets kind of close, but not handling that duel when I had the opportunity to is just gonna set us behind economy-wise and the amount of objective control, giving them first control, all sorts of things. If I flip that around, the ripple effect onto my team is gonna be massive. Same goes for an interaction like this. I see the Hammond and I just fail to hit the sleep dart that would have got him killed, and because of that, we have to use a bunch of other cooldowns to kill him, which, yes, we do get the kill anyway, and you might think, well, then the sleep didn't matter, right? But the problem is, notice how blowing all of our cooldowns into the ball meant that we didn't have them to, let's say, like, hook the Tracer. If I save my Roadhog's hook, and he gets a hook on something else and kills it, he gets a kill and doesn't die himself. My attention's split, I'm not able to keep everyone alive, and though it looks like this is a scrappy fight, really, especially as you start to get up to the higher ranks, your proficiency mechanically has to be so much higher to even have a chance to win a game, that if you start to look at heroes that are what I like to call value turrets and purely look at your own impact and improving your own aim, watch my aim video, of course, and really work at it to land all of your abilities, it's going to be a huge weight lifted off the shoulders of your teammates to make your games a lot easier. I think a lot of players have an eye roll reaction when I talk about aim being so important, but the truth is if you play a hero that needs aim, you need to aim well. And if you can't aim well, my suggestion is you do what I do and try to learn tanks, which still need to aim, but not as much. Don't worry, the second half of this video is pretty much entirely about game sense and rotations and positioning and that stuff, but really, you should think of all of that as a means to get your value out of your aim, not as a substitute for needing to aim well. Almost the entire game can be boiled down to you performing mechanically. Not to overwhelm you, I really think if you just focus at least on getting your on-nade value over all else, you'll at least have a really stable and powerful aspect of your game, even if your aim still needs some work overall. From watching a lot of VODs, I think the biggest ways I see nades get misused is sometimes players miss them. So if you're struggling with just aiming them at the feet of your enemies to land it where you're trying to hit it, don't be ashamed to go in that new workshop mode, the new advanced training range. Just toss nades at Lucio's, try to hit him midair, get really comfortable with the arc so that you always can feel you know where it's going to go. Not to mention there also is the tool that Darwin made in the same video. It's for spawn nades and long distance nades, but you could use it for short range nades too if you're really trying to figure out where your nades go, even at a medium range distance. But the other two big tips I would say is one, making sure that you get past the barriers and shielding and tanking, and that's done by reading the motions and intentions of the tanks in front of you. I mean, in some ways, I think it's kind of easy now because D.Va, it's like, well, defense matrix is up. Now you have 2 seconds to land a nade. Can you hit it? I think it's kind of too easy now, but other things like when Reinhardt's fire striking or pressing W, trying to aggress onto you, that kind of stuff. But I'll warn you, the final tip is make sure you don't nade too early, because just marking a target to be anti-healed isn't good enough. You kind of need some damage to be dealt, like the fight to be committed, them to think they have the edge, then reverse it on them. That's always best. I mean, squishy character, whenever you anti them, you probably could just finish the kill on them, but especially on tanks or like a character like Brigitte, try to let them take a little bit of damage first, think they're going to be able to press, then retreat to get healed, but then you slam the nade onto them. That's how you really start to confirm kills with it. And getting in that tempo where you're holding nade long enough. Hold as long as you need. Don't feel like you have to spam it out. You want it to collide with value. And if you don't see value in front of you, just keep it locked and loaded and ready to go. As long as your team's not dying and you hit your shots normally to keep them alive, which will require sound aim fundamentals to be able to actualize that playstyle. But I think once you do, you'll find it really easy to be just slamming people with grenades. It's one of the most effective things in the entire game right now, partially because there's like a really interesting knock-on effect that's happened to slow down the game in a way. So bunker's good, but not only that, Lucio's speed is worse, so it's harder for characters that normally could get speed boosted onto you to catch you out, meaning that having less speed inherently as a character doesn't hurt you as bad as it used to. I already mentioned the D.Va nerf, but that also affects Winston, who, because of the rate being reduced of how quickly D.Va gets defense matrix, Winston has to play a little bit tighter as well. Sure, they can go ball, but then ball doesn't have a bubble, which then all of a sudden you're wide open to hit sleeps and nades. So all of this has really spun a circle to it's like, when do you ever not want to pick Ana? I'm not sure. She doesn't have a great defensive ult, but Nano's still strong, and her nade counters Trance, so in the ult fight, it's not like you have no play to make anyway. The only character I can think of that even starts to begin to give me worries is a really strong Tracer. Even then, you can kind of outplay her, but a perfectly played Tracer would still be an honor right now. But just about everything else, I feel like you almost can outright duel it yourself, or just avoid it, or you outrange it, or, you don't play in the position that they play anyway. There's so many just things that are protecting Ana to make her a beacon of value almost at all times. So, okay, enough of the preliminary explanation. Now we're going to jump into some live comm gameplay, where I'm starting off as Mercy here because we're running a bunker comp. And although Ana is okay in that, especially dumping her offensive utility to secure kills, for our comp to work, Mercy Zen fits so much better in this because we're really reliant on our Widow getting picks, but, that doesn't happen if she gets picked off. Yet again, we're in a gameplay commentary where we're going to have a teammate who's going to stay on an unoptimal pick for an inordinate amount of time up against Goat's comp comp here, the Widow's just going to struggle to get any sight lines on anything meaningful whatsoever. And you're going to see the moment that they swap, they start getting a ton of value. We hold off against the snowball of the 3-3 rolling over us into B, which is really good because now that we can control them, having a Mei on our side is just so deadly. It's safe to say that the general rule of thumb is most players know how to play around a Mei on their team on defense, cheesing the choke, more than they know how to get past it and outplay the wall value. So funnily enough, like, we've got one of the best GOATS counters there is. As long as the rest of us play smart around the Mei, we're not going to get run over by this. And it's on them to survive getting split, outplaying the wall, which they eventually do. They bait her into some aggression, use a support ult just to survive, but now they're in a clean brawl. This is terrifying for us because I don't want to get run down. Meanwhile, I have to keep my team alive. I need to be setting up to hopefully sleep a tank or land an offensive nade, but I don't react fast enough to how much damage the Zarya's got. Thinking I can get around the corner here, I die. Huge mistake. Have to just expend the nade on myself there to keep myself alive, and maybe we sustain, but alas, it's just sort of the nature of our comp where we have a Widow who's just getting dove by D.Va, so she can't kill anything, and our other major carry was Mei, but only really works on the choke. Now we're retaking into support ults, and we got 2 CP'd on against GOATs. Go again, wake up Freedo. You're gonna have to play better than that if you want to get this W up against a try-hard, sweaty team of 6 randoms playing the meta comp in ranked. I mean, the funny thing is, like, you can think of all the games where you've had throwers on your team or people not trying or bad picks or whatever, but it's situations like this where it's extremely hard and the enemy team's trying that you got to pull out your best performances to get the victory. So we're trying to muscle our way through the choke, and we actually land some abilities and trade out. The only problem is GOATS, once Zarya gets charged, is an insane comp in trade battles because it always has extra damage dealers and extra healers, so taking out one or the other, it's even got an extra main tank, so taking out any of them is just kind of a nightmare. You're never really in a position where you can just easily W into the enemy team. Their enemy Orion charges Earth Shatter in about 3 seconds. I don't see it coming, and if I don't get hit by it, if I'm safer on the corner and playing slower and understanding my angles and threats, I mean, I can probably carry this fight back by surviving, sleeping the charging Orion, hitting more utility to keep my team alive, but getting hit by it, that's on me. Try to get deep breaths, try to get into the game. I know I've got nano, so I'm like, all right, Ryan, you can go in aggro, even though it's against GOATs and it's like super hard for your Ryan to press W. I've got nano, I'll be able to save you, and then I let him down. I have to apologize to him on the mic. He presses W in, I just can't even get nano in fast enough. I just can't react fast enough. They delete him. Okay, for real this time, Ryan. I'll just nano you ahead of time. Oh man, it's so hard because we're in a spot where we're playing with a Widow who's got sight lines into shields, and we somehow have to make space by pressing W into a brawl that we're just significantly disadvantaged in. We get stuck in a grab and just a combination of magical plays by my team to clutch this out. Nade and sound barrier keep us alive. Our Ryan's got nano, so he ain't dying. Get on to point, we're able to cap. Now let's get on to B. Now the team wants to go top right, which oftentimes is the best call because you kind of need that stairwell to do anything on this map. The only problem is they've got 3-3, so that means they're just going to be able to gum this up and brawl us out no matter what. Like, our Mei almost needs them to somehow fight into us in order to get any wall value, and the only way we force that to happen is if we rush to point. So we do so, but I kind of derp out here. Here I'm breaking one of my most fundamental rules that I tell everybody when I'm reviewing VODs, and that's, as a support player, you have no business trying to be near the objective. What I want to be doing is standing from afar, putting my value towards the fight safely. Here I'm trying to go too gung-ho for a carry play, to go close range and scrap it out with mechanics, which is an okay decision, but if you fail it, you're failing your whole team. So we are able to get a tick out of it, which is better than nothing, but if I survive there, we might even just carry out of that whole situation. So continuing on, the same principle applies, but I actually, thankfully, am going to try to learn from my mistakes here, where I want to do my best to avoid the fight whenever possible, but still somehow heal my team, which can feel like an impossible task because they're trying to go make space, but also chasing after me, so I have to run for my life while hitting shots on my teammates, disabling any targets that come after me. On this push, it fails, but the principles are still sound. There's a lot of times in Overwatch where you're doing the best thing you could, and it doesn't work, and people are like, what can we change? What do we have to do different? What heroes should we be? In my opinion anyway, there's not a hero I can pick that's going to do more for the team as an individual. Maybe my other support can go Lucio to speed the team around and outplay them so we don't just get run down. But as Ana here, I have a favorable matchup against the enemy team and synergies with my team. I just got to play better. So establishing the high ground is a bit of a struggle because teammates keep getting split off out of my line of sight. I can't heal them. But finally, again, rushing to the point forces space to be created for me because now I'm finally uncontested. I can throw my utility down towards the point, keep my Reinhardt alive, hit the crucial nade and shots that assist in on finally killing some of these 3-3 members, and we wipe them off the point fast enough to actually have time left in the bank. That's actually sick. And this is all due to one of the most key shot calling mistakes that people make in ranked. You just see it all of the time. People don't want to give up ticks so badly that they allow carries to get set up. If an Ana is in that archway and not a single person goes to contest her and she lands asleep in a nade and some shots, you're incredibly likely to lose. Like, she cannot be left uncontested on a sightline like that. It's better to give up a tick to go try and kill her or stop her from healing the team, zoning her out, so that the fight on the point can go in your favor. Because right there, as you can see, even though they have trance, if I hit a nade and nano my Rhine, not only do I save him after he lost the pin battle, but we get a kill against a support ult that's supposed to make you invincible. So feeling it now, we finally got some huge Ana plays. We're going to have to replicate that again. And the biggest victory of them all right here is that we got our Widow player to swap over to Sombra, who's just going to be infinitely more useful up against the 3-3. 60 seconds is barely enough time to farm for EMP, but it's going to do a lot more than shooting at a shield with no angles here on the attack. But hey, they're not playing goats this time. Instead, they're playing a bunker with their own Mei, but our Mei sets up the most outrageous wall to get rid of their ranged value so that we can survive in the choke, so much so that our Hog can get a hook on their Mei. Beautiful setup. We win the Mei warfare. Well done, team. And here again, now that I don't have pressure on me, I'm able to get a little space, get an angle onto the Bastion, which is just going to let us keep poking this down from range. Never rush onto a Bastion too fast if you're a character that can't withstand him. You want to surround it and poke it down. Far too often do players get a man advantage in this situation. I mean, it's kind of similar to that first fight at the choke when we had a bit of a man advantage and I got shattered, right? You want to make sure that you're aware of all threats and win the fight convincingly. Don't just jump into their areas of stronghold. They got the Bastion still alive in the back, so we just got to keep landing our abilities and shots, surrounding it, and we get that victory. Huge plays, and that's another reason why I don't think Reinhardt's very good set up with the Bastion there, because we don't have a diva. They most definitely could have got some halt value setting up for a kill multiple stages in that fight. Not a lot of time on the board, swarming onto B now, and I figure if I was able to set up last time at this power spot uncontested with the enemy tunnel visioning onto the point, let's just set that same thing up again. The enemy's using Bastion ult way up at the high ground, but we see it coming from a mile away, and Roadhog might be farmable, but not when he's got nano boost on him. We put that on him, so he's able to win his duel convincingly. Also, we have our support ult by this point, keeping the whole team alive. Everybody's got their ultimates now, and that's a swift double cap. A game that looked completely unwinnable, and over the course of the minute, now we're the ones in the lead and looking to be in a really good spot. Onto the defense now, it's becoming brutally apparent that our Mei game is way better than their Mei game. Get the better end of the wall battle on this first fight, but on the second fight, enough members go up top to be kind of a distraction to the team that it sows some discord in our ranks. And the problem is, if you don't have Lucio on defense, it's really difficult to go off and chase on a big map like this. Maybe I should have went up and chased with the rest of my team to heal them, but just sort of a shot calling mishap on both sides where I think you can just let them stay there and wave at you while they have irrelevant ground with their team split and kill their team as they come to the choke, because otherwise you get forced out of position going to chase them, which is going to let the choke up for free, meaning that they'll be able to just walk in it uncontested. Now in these hectic moments at the end, I stress under pressure, hitting a high percentage of these shots, I think is probably one of the best skill tests on where you're at on pretty much any character, but especially Ana, where a lot of times people send in VODs to get reviewed, and as soon as they're under any pressure at all, they just can't land anything, offensive or healing, and I'm by no means great at Ana, but you never know which clutch shot is going to be the difference between your teammates surviving a duel or the little bit of extra damage that, like, I put 2 shots into Lucio, maybe he has to just stay out of the fight now, neutralizing him, giving us like a pseudo man advantage elsewhere in the fight. Those subtle shots can be all the difference in providing your value, but almost even more importantly, just rotating out of the way, where you'd hope hope as a tank player I'd know how to do that. But I see the threats coming at me, and you just have to constantly shift the battle so that you're in the safest place you can be while still providing value. And that playstyle was enough to secure our victory here on Hanamura. And that's gonna be it for today's video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I thought it was a pretty crazy game with a bunch of different strategies being used, an incredibly try-hard game, which is rare to see. And lucky me, I had some one-trick picks that were good for the map that I got randomly assigned to, and another player who was willing to swap to actually counter the enemy. Miracles do happen. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave it a like. It really does help us out, lets us know that you're enjoying the content. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell icon so that you get notified when our videos go live. Link to the description is our Twitter, where we tweet out news, updates, and dank memes. That's been it for me. I've been Freedo for your Overwatch. See you guys next time.